Hello, everyone. So for episode 20 of Husband Tea Torture, we thought it would be fun to do a live episode. So definitely feel free to ask us any questions that you might have. We'll be watching the comments as we go, but we're going to retaste the two teas from our first episode to see if Jason's taste and perceptions of tea might have changed since then. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to see. First up, we're going to brew we're going to brew a golden Bilo Chun. So that is a black tea. I believe this one's from Yunnan. Timer going. If you are watching, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Do you remember what this one tasted like?
As bad as the second one.
Yes, this one is from Yunnan. It's the Black Gold Bilo Chun from Tea Runners. So that was actually the same exact one from the first episode. I don't have the same Gyokuro, but we're going to taste just another Gyokuro now.
Thank God.
For the second tea. Maybe you might like it more.
No, I'm not going to like it.
You've had a lot more exposure to tea since then.
Okay. I've also tried new foods. The ones that I hated, I still hate.
Hi, Cashew Paul. Happy Labor Day to you as well. Really?
I'm so blind. I can't find my glasses.
I can see it, so we're okay. Well, if I lean in.
Yeah, I could do it, but I got to do it like that.
Yeah. You know, trying to get the camera with an angle that fit both of us and everything was a challenge, but it'll be fun to do a live episode, I think.
None of this fun to me. This is love.
I'm just happy that I don't have to edit this one. It's live, so it's a lot less work for me.
Now you get to see all the crazy things I do when I come out of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I've already been preempted that I'm not allowed to do this. No scratching. I'm itching in like 9 spots right now.
Of course, Murphy's Law. Thanks for subscribing, Paul. So I have tried some of their teas. I haven't in a little while though. Nourish Frere is definitely like a really well-known company though. Okay, about a minute left on that.
That's right, you can't use a Google timer.
No, yeah.
Start yelling at it across the
Normally, when we film episodes, I use our Google Home to do a timer on the tea, but it's really loud and obnoxious, and I edit that part out normally, so it's like I can't do that if we're doing a live episode. So, hi, Alex. I really like this teas. It's a Bilo Chun, so the leaves are like really super curled, and then they open up quite a bit. Aw, thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate that. This is we're an underrated channel.
So just making your husband miserable. It's underrated.
I mean, people really enjoy it apparently, so.
Someone has to. Make it to be me. This one wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this one. But usually when we do our videos too, we also edit out the 45 minutes of when I feel it's cool enough for me to drink. So
yeah, Jason doesn't like his tea as hot as I do. He doesn't hate tea as much, I think we can say.
There's been a lot of, I guess, adaptations.
Yeah, like I think you've had things that surprised you maybe that like you didn't think that tea.
There was like a couple episodes when, you know, I think there was one episode where I did like the second one better.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was like, it was bad, but I could bear it.
Yeah.
But there are ones like if Nicole was going to like, hey, can you drink before she even finishes this sentence? I'm like, no, not going to happen.
My girlfriend is Chinese and she doesn't like tea at all, believe it or not. Huh. Oh, I have heard, Paul, that Yorkshire tea biscuit brew was really good. I actually wanted to try to get some of those for an episode just because they're like really different flavors, I think. But yeah, it's kind of funny that like you just never really drank teas before you met me. So I don't think you really just had any exposure to
I
it.
thought tea was like a Lipton thing with a bag and you put in water.
Exactly. Like we know that you don't like Japanese green teas, like that's a big no. So the Gyokuro that we're gonna drink after this will be fun. Yeah. But it's I do think that you've kind of found like your pockets of like what you like.
I think I found a little more of a way of describing what they taste like too.
That you've definitely like I've noticed just in watching back our videos when I edit them that like the first episode you were like I don't like it and you couldn't explain why. Where I feel like you've definitely kind of built a vocabulary.
Don't get me wrong. There have been plenty of times when I can even figure out why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Just know I hated it.
Mm.
Or something that I liked, and I don't know why I liked it. I just liked it. And then she would be like, "Oh yeah, because it has these kind of notes," and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, like I know what I'm talking about." It's just like
I have heard that Alex that drinking too much tea can somewhat be unhealthy. I find
you're very unhealthy.
the news stories that you kind of see about that can be a bit sensational. Where usually, if you like really read into it, the person was drinking tea in a very unusual way. Where like I know there was like a woman who had like a really really bad kidney stone that she'd gotten from drinking tea, and it turned out that she was brewing like 100 tea bags from the dollar store in a pitcher every day. So I think that's like, first of all, that's way too much tea for like that amount of water anyway. Even if you were, trying to make it strong for iced tea or something, that's way too much. It's also lower quality tea is kind of shown to be worse for you. So definitely the fact that she was getting her tea bags at the dollar store probably didn't help very much either.
Is it safe for my level yet?
I think it's okay, but just slurp to cool it off a little bit. The cup's hot, but
No kidding.
yeah.
I think it's oven mitts.
Oh man.
My mother would kill you if she heard you drink one like that.
You're supposed to slurp.
I know you are. I learned that over the last.
It's kind of like wine too. Like it definitely helps, aerate it and get it to all the parts of your mouth so that you can
Next
taste
time
it.
we're at this nice fancy restaurant, we gotta order some wine. We'll be like,
Mm-hmm. That's definitely true, Alex. I find like some teas really do well with gunk fu. Like this is, a Yunnan black tea, but I find I prefer it with more of a Western style brew. Because with gunk fu brews, you're not going to get as many as infusions, and they don't really last as long as say an oolong would. Definitely, yeah.
That text figure.
Huh?
That text figure.
I don't think we can.
I'm blind.
I know, I have to like lean in to see it, but it's okay. But yeah, so the description for this tea is this lovely tea has all the great characteristics of a multi Yunnan black tea. These little pellets benefit from short-term aging to make a smooth but sturdy cup to waken the senses and boost energy levels while the palate is left with hints of chocolate and flowers. Do you get chocolate and flowers, Jay?
Getting tea. I feel like it's a very just neutral tea. Not much going on in it.
Yep. That's funny, Linda. I think you just described every episode. She said her husband will take a sip and say, tastes like tea, and makes a face. Like that pretty much sums up you. I do feel like because this is the same tea from our first episode, which was actually in February, I think. Yeah, so it was a while ago. This is a tea from 2020. It's lost some of its oomph, I feel like, that even though I kind of brewed it the same way I did before, it doesn't taste quite as strong as it did. It's not bad. Like, tea doesn't really go bad per se as long as there's no moisture involved.
I thought it was stale or anything.
Yeah. So Alex, if you want to try Shenkor, I would say go to a place like a vendor that offers samples is a really good way to, get to try lots of different things. Committing to a cake is a lot, especially if you're new to it. So I know some of my favorites are Crimson Lotus tea and White tea, is they both offer sample sizes of a lot of their teas. So that's a good way to and bitter leaf tea too. That instead of you having to buy a large amount of tea and make like a big financial investment, that's a good way to get to know kind of what your preferences are and see if you kind of try different things from different regions in Yunnan. Because some people will find that they like iwu because it's very soft and sweet, where other people might want tea that has a little bit more oomph to it. So it just depends on kind of what your personal preferences are.
I have no idea what you said. I mean, you could have just said that in Swahili.
I know.
Wouldn't have mattered.
So, Paul, right now I have about 230 teas in my collection. It's constantly fluctuating since there's tea going out, teas coming in, but generally it's about 200 to 250, depending on kind of how busy I am. I do know Mayleaf, Alex. I haven't actually tried their teas myself. I have so much tea already that I just haven't gotten a chance to try them yet.
You want some of it? Mail it to you.
Don't give away my tea. So, what did you think? Do you think like I did that it was lighter than it was last time? I know it was a while ago.
I remember that it was just nowhere near as bad as the second one you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know because I was getting ready to quit the show 35 minutes in. I was like, this just sounded like it was, something that was better on paper.
So actually, our cups didn't quite fit what was in it.
That's much darker than my last one.
Yeah. So, especially because it was lighter, I'm interested to see if this will be bitter or not.
Oh, definitely got way more bitter.
Well, I don't think so.
I think
it has more body to it.
I think I got more bitter.
It does tea definitely does stay fresher if you don't open it. It kind of depends. Like Tea Runners, I do like their subscription. I did a video where I kind of reviewed a few months of it. But their packaging is clear, which isn't the best because even though I do keep it in a drawer, the clear packaging does expose the tea to light, and that can degrade the tea over time. So I would say it's better if it's not in a clear container like that. And it really just depends on the type of tea too. Some teas, like oolong teas especially, because they tend to vacuum seal those, will stay fresh for much longer. I have heard that the tea taxes in England are tough. I know, especially with Brexit and everything, it's probably a little crazy. We haven't had too much here, even though they're having tariffs on Chinese products and things like that. We haven't had too much issues. As long as you're not buying over a certain amount. That's like a pretty high amount. So nice, Jeannie. So she got Mayleaf tea. Got her first order last week. The teas are extremely high quality, and that's good to hear. Linda, I think it's better, but Jason thinks it's more bitter. I think it just has more oomph to it. Like you really get those chocolate notes.
You do get more out of it. I'm not getting chocolate yet.
You don't get chocolate? Like in the aftertaste?
See, this is what happens to me. She'll say it tastes like chocolate. And then I think it starts to taste like chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm tasting like, a Hershey bar milk.
Like a hot chocolate kind of chocolate. Like a dark, like Ghirardelli hot chocolate.
No, just if I got any kind of chocolate out of it, it would just be like a big chunk of just hard dark chocolate.
Okay.
Which I'm not a fan of dark chocolate.
I see. I love dark chocolate. Like the higher the cacao percentage, the better.
I don't know.
Like, give me like 98%, and I'm happy. Like, I really like dark chocolate. Yeah, that's tough, Alex. It's shipping and how long things can take to get to you can really affect the tea. That sometimes you can get a tea and it's amazing, and the next time it's, even if it's the same company, the same vendor, it's just not going to taste the same. It definitely can. I think it just depends. Like, definitely heat is part of that. Tea doesn't like heat.
Does it?
No.
Root and boiling water.
No, but like before it gets to you, like when it's like being shipped.
Choke.
It also depends on like if it's air shipping or if it's on the slow boat. Like it really just there's so many variables that I definitely think that there's probably cargo ships where they don't necessarily treat the tea as well as you might want them to. So I think that's part of it. Touch your face.
I got an itch on my face. Right? I got my chest and neck. I got.
I agree, Linda. Dark chocolate is the best, especially with tea. Yeah, see, I thought I actually like that a lot better. That I think it just needed more time, but that was like a lot more time
A lot more than.
because we were probably almost 10 minutes in when I poured that second cup.
Maybe.
So that's been brewing for a little while. So I definitely think that it was kind of just a little past its prime too. I absolutely agree, Paul. I like to spend my evenings talking about tea quite a bit.
Weirdo.
So, Jason, you entertained the chat. I'm going to get some more water to make our second tea.
You are brave.
Uh-huh.
You're very, very brave. For any of you that are watching, and then maybe walk away, and you come back like 15 minutes later, and I'm gone. It's because I quit the show. I'm about to hate you. About to get me. So lucky, I love you. Yeah.
Good thing is, with the second tea, it doesn't have to be very hot at all, so it'll take a little to heat up.
Linda, what are we drinking? I have no idea what we're drinking.
The first tea's right there.
Have fun reading this one. Is it Bilo Chun?
Bilo Chun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black gold Bilo Chun. That's all I know. That's what it is. From Yunnan. Say it real quietly in the background so I know I kind of make it look like I'm sounding when I'm talking about it.
So I'm just waiting for the water to heat up for our second tea.
What the heck is going to fit in that? Really? It's like a pancake.
It's a pancakey kyusu. That's what they call it. It's a flat boy.
It's a flat boy, all right. Nothing. Like, how much water can you even fit in that?
50 milligrams. That's how much more.
Can we use things that are like not milligrams, just like a normal amount?
No. This only has metric on it, sorry. Cups. 3 cups.
Smallest ones you got.
That's pretty much, yeah, I need small cups.
Too big.
They kind of are, but
Too
it'll
big.
be okay.
There's gotta be something small back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go real small. Like Monopoly board pieces, size small.
Jake, can you do me a favor?
What's up?
Just set up a timer for 1 minute.
1 minute?
When I get over here.
Let me know when I should start.
Once I pour them. All right. So for our second tea, we're going to revisit Gyokuro, which we know from experience Jason does not like.
Hates. Don't say don't like.
I'm
Hates.
actually going to use. I'm just going to measure the water real quick before I pour it in.
Do you use a variable temperature kettle?
I do. So I have the fellow Corvo EKG. It's a variable temperature kettle.
It has game on it too.
It does. It has a secret video game, so I really like it.
So am I starting this timer?
Yes. What is the tea that's best to drink at night? Hojicha is definitely up there because it's normally made from like bigger leaves and it's roasted. Everybody's a little bit different though on how tea affects you, so you kind of just have to see. If you really do have trouble with caffeine, herbal teas are pretty much your only option if you know have trouble with that.
Herbal tea's not tea.
It's true. Chisons, yeah.
Nice stuff.
Yeah, he's learned something all this time, guys.
Because you've already said that like 7,000 times in the last 11 years.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I would say hojicha. Stop touching your face.
I'm literally just doing like this.
Hojicha would definitely be bancha too. It's not as roasted, or a kyobancha would be like if you like a more smoky taste, kyobancha could be a good one to look into as well. It's tricky because like teas that they used to advertise as being low in caffeine, like white tea, are actually can be fairly high. So it just depends on the tea.
Oh, it's so bad.
Well, here, I'll give you.
Oh, it's got
the cup with,
floaties
like-
too. Come on.
It's just tea. It's leaves. It's not going to hurt
It looks
you.
like Mountain Dew that lost its color.
Alex, I have not visited any tea farms in China. That's definitely, especially right now, you really can't travel anywhere, but that's definitely something I want to do in the future is travel to tea farms if I can. So it's like not even hot at all. This was brewed with like super cooled off water. So, so this is, where did I go? So the Gyokuro that we are brewing, I didn't have the same one as we did on our first episode,
Thank God.
but this is the Gyokuro from Mizuba Tea Company. They're one of my favorite companies for Japanese teas, especially their matchas. And this is their Gyokuro. It's a single cultivar. So it's made with Saimidori, which is kind of cool because for people who don't know, almost all of the tea made in Japan is made with the Yapukita cultivar. So I always get excited when I see teas that aren't Yapukita just because they're going to be a little bit different. And Gyokuro is brewed with a very low temperature water. So the water is just barely hot. It's about 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That's definitely, I agree, Paul. Tea helps everything, especially in the last 2 years, actually, just about. Like, it's basically cold. Just drink it.
See, I'm just trying to avoid drinking this cup.
I swear you're not going to hate this as much. I promise.
This is for you.
Yeah. What don't you like about it?
Oh my God. This gets worse as it lingers.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
What don't you like
It
about
tastes
it?
like moldy.
Moldy.
I don't know. That's what I think of.
Is it vegetal?
I don't know. It's just bad.
Oh my God.
Going back to my roots, it's just bad.
You don't think it's like sweet?
No. I can't even. The last minute, I'm trying to figure out what this tastes like. Feel free to have more.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will. Yeah, we're definitely gonna.
And it's just gonna get worse.
We'll brew with a little bit more water
I do
than
another minute.
last time. Yeah, actually maybe 2 minutes.
Right back for the flavors.
How far has the tea scene improved in recent years? It was nearly impossible to even know about high quality tea as a Western just 10 years ago. Absolutely. I started my blog 13 years ago almost in October. And back when I first started, I would take 2 trains to New York City to go to Whole Foods to get tea because that was the only place I could go buy tea. So it's definitely changed and improved quite a bit. Accessibility is just so much higher. I can buy tea on Instagram DMs directly from a farmer now. So it's just really a world of difference, in the last 10 years, definitely. It lingers just bad. Yep. Jason's tea descriptions are always a source of entertainment. They're definitely authentic to you. Absolutely authentic to you. And they're always entertaining.
But honesty out of me. Nothing.
That's definitely true.
Now that we're live,
I
can't use the true descriptions that are usually cut out of this.
Oh, well, I mean, I put, as long as they're not don't have any curse words in them, I do usually put those in the bloopers.
They're usually very Jerry Springer and Maury Povich.
Definitely
Language.
watch the end of any husband tea torture episode because you're gonna see all the bloopers that like wouldn't fit into the actual video. Is they're always really
All the dumb stuff that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Which on an everyday basis.
Especially
is a
if
lot.
I'm like over there refilling the tea kettle and you're like over here doing dances.
Like dances.
And, like
We're just about at 2 minutes. Add flavors in 5, 4, 3, 2 minutes.
Channel, even though I wouldn't get a lot of views. Definitely, everybody should start a tea channel. I think we need a lot more tea tubers. There's not many of us, and not everybody uploads all the time. So I would say there's always room for more voices. I love watching tea YouTube videos, so I definitely think you should start a channel.
That one was less than
Okay.
Just praying for a second.
Yeah. I definitely think that the health benefits are overhyped. Tea absolutely is healthy. And, if you're going to replace something like soda or energy drinks with tea, it's going to be really, really healthy for you and a great lifestyle change. If you already are kind of baseline and you're drinking tea, I don't really think it does anything. Like people ask me about the whole weight loss thing, and I always say that I drink so much tea that if it was that good at weight loss, I would disappear because I drink a lot of tea. And I definitely still have to watch my diet like anybody else. Tea is not going to be, a magic cure, fountain of youth thing for me. So
it's definitely more vegetable. I like veggie now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's opened up a bit more.
And I hate vegetable teas.
But see, this tea, the thing I love about this tea is, like, green tea does get astringent, and I don't get that at all from this tea. Like, it's so sweet and so mellow. Like, it's just umami, which I think you don't like umami. I think that's a big part of why you don't like Japanese tea. Okay. Let's see. I do know some of the mythology but behind Da Hong Pao, Alex. It's kind of interesting. Depending on who you talk to, you get lots of different versions of the story. I even had someone tell me that the original trees that, are like a tourist attraction are not the original trees, and that there's like a Da Vinci Code style like conspiracy to protect the real original trees, and those are just there as like a distraction. So it's definitely super interesting to kind of read about those things, but I don't know exactly how much of that stuff is true that we kind of hear, outside of China. Alex, I think that depends on the type of tea. Every region is a little bit different. So he wants to know if there's truth that like the older the tree, the better the tea is. For poor, I would say that is generally considered to be true. Like what they call gushu would be, much older trees. And, it's really just, if you think about it, older trees have deeper roots. So they're going to get more nutrients than younger trees that have roots that are closer to the topsoil. But if you go to somewhere like India or Japan, they don't have old trees. Generally, once a tree gets to be about 30 or 40 years old, they'll actually rip it out and replace it with a new plant. So it really just depends on where you go, because older trees are not always as valued, as they might be in a place like Bayonne.
Since when does tea come from trees?
Tea is a tree.
It's a plant.
It's a tree. The thing is, basically,
that thing outside of our house, that's true.
That's true. Linda gives you credit because you keep sipping.
I'm enjoying it. Actually, I'm just trying to get rid of it.
Oh my god. So, tea, if you leave it to its own devices to just grow, it actually will grow into a tree. But basically, like when you see those like fields of like trimmed bushes in rows, it's because they prune them to almost make it like a bonsai. because they want to keep it about like waist height, so that way it's easier to pick the tea or to run like a cutter over it. So it just like where in Yunnan, they tend to want trees that are bigger and older, so they'll actually let the trees kind of go semi-wild, and they get to where you actually have to climb the tree to pick leaves.
You know, if I am ever around a tea plant with you, you know the first thing I'm doing. I'm gonna be like, no bark.
I mean, we have a tea plant on our windowsill, so
Yeah, Rocky loves him.
No, that tea plant's staying inside for now, at least until it's a little bigger. Can you recommend a good tea book? Yeah, I would say there's one written by the guys at Camellia Sinensis in Canada. So it's called like Tea Terroirs History. It's like a pretty long title, but I did a video on my favorite tea books, and that's in there. So I would say that's a really good starter book that gives you like your basic varieties, gives you an idea of different growing regions. It's actually used as a textbook for some of the tea sommelier programs. So it's really good info, but it's not too heavy, I would say, if you're newer to tea as well. So I think that's probably would be like always my first recommendation. Where do you start with teapots, or should you just stick with a gaiwan? I would say gaiwans are super classic. Like you can brew anything in it. If there's one type of tea that you find you're brewing more than others, that would be where it's time to kind of consider a clay teapot, like an Yixing. Definitely take your time with that, because if you're not using it a lot, it kind of defeats the purpose. It's not going to get very well seasoned. Like my first Yixing has been dedicated to the one oolong that it's been brewed in for the last 10 years. So it has so much seasoning that it really, really enhances the taste of the tea. So I think especially if you're just starting out, gaiwans might be good to start with, or get a porcelain pot that's more gongfu size. That way you can kind of, have options. Can you grab me that one?
This one?
Yeah, don't break it. Don't drop it.
One that looks like that Beauty and the Beast thing.
Yeah. So yeah, like something like this is like a very small kind of gongfu sized teapot, but it's porcelain, so you can still brew anything in it like you would with a gaiwan. So I would say this is kind of a good in between if you wanted to, try brewing teapots, but you don't necessarily want to commit to a expensive clay teapot just yet. Definitely, Silas. I agree. James Norwood Pratt's books are also really great. He's one of my favorite tea people just in general that I've ever met, and I could listen to him read the phone book. He's very poetic in the way he writes about tea, so I really enjoy his books for like that aspect of it. How do you get someone who isn't into tea to be more willing to try?
Something like this.
I mean, sometimes it is just kind of making it a fun, like, here, I'm drinking this, try it. Some people just don't like tea. My mom drinks tea, but she only drinks like her grocery store tea bags with milk and sugar, and she does not like anything I've ever made her. And that's fine. Like, she's okay to drink tea the way that she does. But I would say start with like figuring out what flavors that person likes and seeing if you can find a tea that kind of fits those flavors. Like, for example, we know that Jason, he likes whiskey and he likes like dark roasty flavors. He doesn't like floral. He doesn't like vegetal. So it's just kind of finding teas that fit into those pockets of things that you know that they like can really help with like surprising them with what tea can taste like.
Ain't much.
I think honestly they don't get recommended often to like people who are new to tea, but I think Dansong oolongs are kind of a really cool way to introduce people to tea because they're so aromatic. It really kind of makes people like take notice because they never knew that tea could taste like that. So it's definitely, that could be a good way to go. Or, if there's somebody who really thinks that tea's bitter, starting with like a really light white tea can be a good way to go because it kind of shows the other side of tea. That's definitely true, Silas. I find until that pot is very well seasoned, it's going to be taking some of the flavor out of your tea. So you do have to kind of give up a little bit of that taste and aroma when you first start out brewing in it. And then as you go, it doesn't do that as much anymore, and it kind of starts to complement the tea a little bit more. Jason does like lapsang because it kind of sort of tastes like scotch. So like a smoky tea.
Okay.
I used to work at a tea house, and that would be one of the few teas that he would drink when he was there. Is they had like a traditional, smoked, but more in a traditional way, so it wasn't that like burnt rubber tire kind of lapsang. But that can be a really good way to go. Yes, dance songs, Alex. It kind of just depends, but something like a Milan, or even like a duck shit oolong. Sometimes the name is just enough to get people interested that they're like super fascinated at a tea having that name. Definitely. I do think that sometimes just you being excited and passionate about tea is enough to get people interested. I know like a lot of my friends, if they come over, they're not people that are going to make tea the way that I do at home. But when they come over, they're like, "Will you make me tea?" So I definitely think that helps. We gave out tea for our wedding favors, and that actually went over really well too. I had a few people ask me to like refill for them, since I still had some of the tea. So that can always be a good way to go. We did like a moonlight white, so it was like a really mellow tea that was like super, easygoing that you really can't mess up. I agree with you on there too, Silas. Milk oolong is really good. Jason hates milk oolong like a lot.
A lot.
I haven't had one like in my stash for us to do on an episode, but we definitely have to do that as a tea Jason doesn't like.
You don't have to. You don't get it. It's not going to really bother me that much.
Just heat up the water a little bit.
Hopefully when she comes back, she doesn't have tea with her. Hi. My eyes are so bad. Yeah. Plus my eyes are irritated. It's like Murphy's Law. Like I felt fine as soon as that camera went on, and my eyes were like bothering me.
Yeah.
I got to itch someplace. Do you like Thai tea, or do you consider it too sweetened? I'm sorry, I can't even read it. It's so tiny. Do you like Thai tea, or do you find it too sweet due to the sweetened condensed milk?
I do, but really only when I'm at like a Thai restaurant. I really like wouldn't, like make it myself every day, or anything like that. But I definitely do enjoy.
How long?
2 minutes. I definitely do enjoy a nice sweet Thai tea. If I'm out and I'm having pad Thai, and we're just having like.
I do like. I'm sorry. Like cold.
Mm-hmm.
Thai sweet tea.
I think that's fine if you like bubble tea. It kind of just depends on the place. I find I have a hard time with bubble tea sometimes because I don't like the pearls. I don't like
the tapioca balls.
I don't like the texture of them, and they kind of look at me sideways when I'm like, I don't want any of their. I like places that let you customize, where sometimes you go and it's just like a prepackaged thing that's in a fridge and they just hand you the cup. Where I like places that kind of let you customize. A few months ago, I had some friends that were visiting New York City, and a lot of things weren't open yet, so we just kind of walked around Chinatown, and I found this awesome place that I can't remember the name of right now. I think Ali Mama, if I remember correctly. But they had, where you can customize everything. And I got the most delicious iced oolong with like glitter and rose petals in it and really tasty mochi donuts. And it was great. So, like, not all tea has to be like super pure, super professional. There's lots of different ways to do it. And bubble tea brings a lot of people to tea. So I definitely, even if it's not my favorite thing, I definitely have appreciation for it because it does that. Teas forced upon you so far, which were the most bearable to you and why?
Me?
Yeah.
Not the second ones that she gives me. Honestly, I don't remember a lot of the names of these things.
I would say probably First Flush Darjeeling was the one that you were like really surprised by. That like we did Second Flush as the one that we know you like, but then we did First Flush since it's actually quite green and floral. But he was actually very, very surprised at how much he liked it.
When we go out and my wife, you don't do it really that much anymore. When we first started dating, she would always have tea on her.
Uh-huh.
And she would have this tea wallet. And I swear to God, I was like, don't open that in front of the cop. Because they're going to think that's weird. And you're like, you will be questioned because of this. And my mother saw it. And she was like,
yeah.
She hasn't done it in a long time. She used to do it all the time. But, I would definitely do the eye roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, really? Like, you don't have this enough at home?
Totally.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But she enjoys it. So
yeah.
I can't say. I mean, I can't go to the diner and be like, hey, I brought my flask with me.
I mean, tea doesn't have alcohol in it, so that's a big, part of it that you can do it wherever you'd like. But I think it's, not everybody gets the tea thing in my life, No, I don't think so. But people are like, that's cool because that's what you like, that like everybody has their thing and tea just happens to be mine.
I still have to drink this.
Let me see. What are my top 5 favorite teas? Oh, Alex, that's a really tough one. I would say my absolute favorite tea of all time is Huang Shizhang, which is a Phoenix Oolong Dansong that is it's really one of the first teas I fell in love with. So that's always kind of top of the list. I would say after that would be Shankor, because that's probably the thing I drink the most of. I would say Moonlight White, maybe something like Malfung green tea, and then maybe something like a golden Yunnan black tea. As I'm kind of all over the place on my tea preferences. I really do like everything, so it's really hard to choose.
Actually, real quick, when it comes to a tea that I really liked, and we were at Carney and Sons, out in Manhattan, and I said, and they had macaroons, so I was like, oh, they get some peanut butter macaroons. I love peanut butter. And then I found this chocolate nut tea, and I'm like, I put chocolate and peanut butter together. And she looks me dead in the face. She goes, yeah, like no one's ever thought of that before. And I was just so demeaning.
Oh, stop. I wasn't that mean.
And I was like, I thought I was doing something good for tea.
Cut it out. I was not that mean, guys. He's
that
very much exaggerating. So I was a very nice wife, and I got you a tin of chocolate nut when Hardy and Sons picked me as their tea-fluencer earlier this year. And I got a big haul. I did record a video if you guys want to check that out.
And you know how much I drank of it? None.
Because you only drink tea when it's hot out or you're sick. You don't drink tea like I do. Like
it's cold out, hot out.
Let's see. What teas, if any, do I enjoy with milk? I would say probably chai and like matcha lattes are about it. I've gone so long without putting milk in most of my teas that it's really heavy to me if I put milk in. But I would say that I was like at an event and somebody made some like traditional Hong Kong milk tea and it was amazing. So it really just depends on the circumstances, but generally I don't put milk in most teas.
I love chai lattes.
Yeah.
I do. I think they're delicious.
I find myself cycling through teaware. For the most part, I don't really cycle through teaware. If what I tend to do is like if people are over and they're interested in tea, I'll send them away with a way to make tea and some tea. Because usually that's kind of like the biggest barrier for people if they want to get into like loose leaf tea, that they just don't have a way to do it, so they kind of give up. So I tend to kind of be like, here, I have like a million infuser mugs, so let me give you one of those and I'll give you a bunch of tea, and that way they're kind of set up to make tea themselves. So I think that's what I tend to do more, is like I'll gift a lot of stuff if people are here. But I also find like since I got into tea, kind of like with anything you collect, when you first get into it, you're like, buy, buy, buy. I want all the things. And you're less discreet about like what you spend on. Where now that I've been drinking tea and collecting teaware for over a decade, I'm a lot more careful on like what I buy. So if I do buy something, it's like something I've really put a lot of thought into and I've considered it, and it's something that I really love. It's from an artist that I love and want to support. So it really just depends on, what the item is, but I do find that I definitely buy much less teaware than I used to. Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate that. I love geeking out about tea. This is actually my most recent teaware acquisition. I bought this when I was in New York City yesterday. There's this wonderful store in China.
You want another teacup?
You were there when I came home. But there's this wonderful store in Chinatown called Wing on Woe, the oldest operating store in New York City's Chinatown. And they always have really amazing teaware. And I saw this cup before COVID started, and I didn't get it. I was there with some friends. I got some other stuff, but I didn't get this cup. And I went just kind of hoping they would still have it, and they did. So it was like I had to get it. Huh.
As you can see behind me.
Can I hear about Robert Fortune? Yes. There's a really interesting book written by Sarah Rose called All the Tea in China. That she basically took Robert Fortune's journals, which are pretty dry, like I've read them, the original documents, and he was a botanist, he was a scientist, so they're not super exciting reading, but she went and turned his journals into a historical fiction about his journeys in China, and that was super, super interesting, so I definitely recommend that if you're interested in Robert Fortune. Red flags for shops. That's a good question, Mike. I would say definitely for me is if they don't tell you where the tea is from. I will not buy a tea if I don't know where it's from. And I want them to be as specific as possible. If I'm getting a Gyokuro, don't just tell me it's from Japan. Because that's super vague and tells me that you probably don't know where your tea came from. There's a lot of people, and it's fine for a business to buy from a wholesaler. Not everybody can go direct source their tea themselves. But I do think that, I want companies to be transparent about where their tea comes from. For me, especially, that's like a huge, huge part of it. Other than that, I would say kind of the other main red flag would be like just kind of weird things that like, it's almost like they're appropriating the cultures of where the tea came from. That sometimes you'll run into that, unfortunately, and that's always a big red flag for me. Is I definitely avoid stores where I feel like they're not being very respectful of the original culture where that tea came from. Well. Yes. I know. It's when we're filming, he drives me crazy because I'll be like speaking and he's just staring at me and I just like stop in the middle of it. I'm like, what?
Like, what do you want me to do?
Oh, yes. Korean green teas are really, really good, but they are harder to come by and kind of expensive. Korea's kind of one of those exceptions where they consume most of their tea domestically, so they're not exporting a whole lot, and so that's why it can be quite hard for us to get. But I really, really like Balio cha is definitely one of my favorite teas recently. It's like a super. The way they process it is like not quite a black tea, not quite an oolong. It's kind of like a gray area tea, but it's super chocolatey. I think we did that on one episode. I feel like we did. But that's definitely one of my favorite Korean teas. Oh yeah, Japanese black teas are also really good. I've definitely in recent years I feel like they're diversifying a little bit more. Where Japan has always, for a very long time, mostly made green tea. But I definitely have been seeing a lot more white teas, oolongs, and black tea from Japan. So I always love kind of trying, every region has different tastes and different things, that they focus on. So it is really interesting to, experience those. So I think since we finished our second tea, we're going to wrap it up. But thank you all so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Your support means so much. I really would never have thought we'd make it to 20 episodes. This was kind of our little like quarantine project. That we were stuck at home together and we started just doing husband tea torture because it was a funny idea that Jason had. But so
isn't that amazing? This is my idea. This was my idea. I was like, hey, let me try to find a way to support my wife's tea channel a little bit. And we're just gonna go on the internet and
hey,
make myself crazy.
The channel's grown quite a bit since then, thanks to husband tea torture. I think is a big part of that.
Oh, and Paul, if you want to direct that question to me, a lot of them.
So for me, we'll enter this one last question. So for me, the worst tea I ever had was someone had made or tried to make Kenyan white tea into like a matcha powder. It tasted like gym socks. It was not good at all. Like Kenyan white tea is wonderful, but drinking it that way, not great at all.
Honestly, I know my mom's not watching this video, but the worst tea I think she ever had is we had just started dating, and my mom's like, "Oh, you like tea?" She goes into the kitchen, comes back with a cup of Lipton decaffeinated tea, and she's like, "I'm gonna drink this."
That was microwaved, yeah.
That was microwaved, by the way. And she's like, "I'm just drinking this because I like you."
That was pretty bad. You know I liked you if I choked that down.
She was like shaking when she was done.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to end this stream. Thank you all again so much for watching. Definitely, we're going to have this up on the channel to replay if you missed any of it. Definitely let us know in the comments once it's posted on YouTube. If there's any teas that you want us to try on future episodes, as well as any questions you might have about tea, I'm always happy to answer those. But thank you all for watching and have a great night.
Take care.